It started as an ordinary New Year in Los Angeles, until it wasn't. By mid-January 2025, the city was unrecognizable. Smoke filled the skies, thousands fled their homes, and the relentless flames consumed everything in their path. But how did this catastrophe unfold? Let's take it day by day to uncover the story of the 2025 Los Angeles wildfires. January 1, 2025, the first warning. As Los Angeles welcomed the new year, a small fire ignited near Skull Rock in Pacific Palisades. Quickly extinguished by firefighters, it seemed insignificant, a fleeting incident on a festive day. Yet, it was an ominous sign. Months of drought had left vegetation dangerously dry, and unseasonably warm temperatures hinted at trouble ahead. For most, life carried on as usual, unaware that this minor spark marked the beginning of a looming disaster. The conditions were ripe for catastrophe, and the events of January 1st would soon become the first chapter in a wildfire that would devastate the city. January 7, 2025, the spark that ignited chaos. A dry, windy morning in Pacific Palisades turned catastrophic when a spark ignited brittle vegetation near the Skull Rock hiking trail. What began as a small, localized fire was quickly fanned by Santa Ana winds gusting at 60 miles per hour. Within hours, the flames spread uncontrollably, consuming acres of land and overwhelming initial firefighting efforts. The blaze had transformed into a massive wildfire, forcing evacuations and plunging the city into chaos. Los Angeles was now on the brink of a full-scale disaster, as nature's fury revealed the fragility of its urban sprawl. January 8, 2025, the city in crisis. By dawn, the wildfire had consumed over 20,000 acres, spreading rapidly through Pacific Palisades and Brentwood. Thick smoke blanketed the skyline, forcing schools, businesses, and highways to shut down. Thousands fled their homes as firefighters battled flames leaping across fire breaks, driven by relentless winds. The air was suffocating, and visibility dropped to near zero in some areas. Despite the efforts of over 2,000 emergency responders, containment seemed impossible. Panic and uncertainty gripped the city as the fire's intensity grew. Los Angeles was no longer facing just a wildfire. It was confronting one of the greatest crises in its history. January 9, 2025, a second threat emerges. As the Palisades fire raged on, another disaster struck. The Eaton fire ignited near Pasadena, rapidly spreading due to the same dry conditions and relentless winds. With two massive wildfires now burning simultaneously, firefighting resources were stretched to their limits. Evacuations expanded, with thousands more forced to flee as the flames crept closer to residential areas. The fire showed no signs of slowing, merging into a relentless inferno. Los Angeles was now under siege, battling not just the flames but also the overwhelming toll on its people, infrastructure, and emergency response teams. January 10, 2025, embers spread chaos. By January 10th, the wildfires had intensified, burning over 30,000 acres across Los Angeles. High winds carried embers miles away, sparking spot fires that overwhelmed containment efforts. Entire neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades faced mandatory evacuations, with roads packed as thousands fled the encroaching flames. Firefighters worked tirelessly, but the unpredictable winds and dry conditions made progress nearly impossible. Smoke blanketed the city, turning day into night and plunging air quality to hazardous levels. The scale of the disaster grew, pushing emergency response teams to their limits as Los Angeles braced for further devastation. January 11, 2025, a city under siege. The wildfires showed no signs of slowing as they spread beyond Pacific Palisades, consuming over 35,000 acres by January 11th. Santa Ana winds fueled the flames, sending embers into new neighborhoods and sparking additional fires. Evacuation zones expanded, forcing tens of thousands to leave their homes. Emergency shelters filled to capacity, while firefighters struggled to establish containment lines. Resources were stretched thin as the fires threatened critical infrastructure, including power lines and highways. Los Angeles was in crisis mode, facing one of the most relentless and widespread wildfire emergencies in its history. January 12, 2025, relentless flames, growing losses. By January 12th, the fires had engulfed over 40,000 acres, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Thousands of homes were reduced to rubble, and entire neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, and beyond were unrecognizable. Firefighters battled around the clock, aided by aerial water drops and bulldozers carving fire breaks. Despite their efforts, high winds continued to spread embers, igniting new blazes across the region. The human toll was mounting. displaced families sought refuge in overcrowded shelters, while officials confirmed a rising death toll. With containment still elusive, Los Angeles remained a city under siege, enduring one of its darkest chapters. January 13, 2025, the fire's devastating toll. On January 13th, the scale of devastation became tragically clear. The combined wildfires had consumed over 45,000 acres, destroyed more than 12,000 structures, and claimed 25 lives. Thousands remained displaced, with shelters struggling to accommodate evacuees. Firefighters gained some ground as winds began to subside, but containment was still a distant goal. Smoke continued to blanket Los Angeles, turning the air toxic and prompting widespread health warnings. The city was grappling with the enormity of the crisis, losses in lives, homes, and infrastructure, and the path to recovery seemed daunting. For many, this was a day of heartbreak and resilience. January 14, 2025, a glimmer of hope. After days of relentless destruction, a shift in weather provided a small glimmer of hope. Winds began to weaken, giving firefighters a crucial window to establish stronger containment lines. While flames continued to burn across over 46,000 acres, the reduced wind speeds slowed the spread, allowing emergency crews to make progress. Evacuation zones remained in place as teams worked tirelessly to extinguish hotspots and protect vulnerable areas. Amid the ongoing crisis, stories of bravery and resilience emerged, neighbors helping neighbors and communities rallying to support those displaced. Though the battle was far from over, Los Angeles began to see the first signs of recovery. January 15, 2025, turning the tide. By January 15th, firefighters began to gain the upper hand as calmer winds and cooler temperatures provided a much-needed reprieve. Containment efforts advanced significantly, with fire crews securing nearly 50% of the fire's perimeter. Investigators zeroed in on the Skull Rock hiking trail as the likely origin of the Palisades fire, citing evidence of human activity as a potential cause. Residents in some areas were allowed to return to assess the damage, revealing the stark reality of over 12,000 structures reduced to ash. While the immediate threat diminished, the scars left by the fires, both physical and emotional, were undeniable. January 16, 2025, containment achieved. On January 16th, firefighters declared significant progress, achieving over 80% containment of the combined fires. The weakened winds and tireless efforts of over 8,500 emergency personnel finally turned the tide against the flames. Evacuation orders were lifted in many areas, allowing displaced residents to return and begin the arduous process of rebuilding their lives. Investigators confirmed human activity as the likely ignition source, sparking debates about fire safety and prevention in high-risk areas. As the immediate danger subsided, attention shifted to recovery efforts and the long-term environmental and societal impacts of one of Los Angeles' most devastating wildfires. After January 16, 2025, the road to recovery. With the fires finally under control, Los Angeles began the monumental task of recovery. Over 12,000 structures were destroyed, and countless families faced the loss of their homes and livelihoods. The economic toll was staggering, estimated at $275 billion, encompassing property damage, infrastructure repairs, and environmental restoration. Community efforts ramped up, with shelters providing aid to displaced residents and volunteers assisting in cleanup operations. Environmentalists warned of long-term damage to ecosystems, while health officials monitored the effects of lingering smoke on air quality. As investigations continued into the fire's origins, the city faced hard questions about preparedness and resilience, vowing to rebuild stronger and better prepared for future disasters. Tribute and reflection. In the wake of the devastation, the people of Los Angeles came together to honor the sacrifices, bravery, and resilience that defined the 2025 wildfires. Over 8,500 firefighters worked relentlessly, risking their lives to protect others and contain the flames. First responders, paramedics, and volunteers offered critical aid, while local communities opened their doors to evacuees, embodying the spirit of solidarity. As the city reflects on the tragedy, the fires stand as a stark reminder of the delicate balance between human progress and nature's power. The lessons learned fuel efforts to implement stronger fire prevention measures, better urban planning, and increase public awareness. While scars remain on the land and in the hearts of its people, Los Angeles continues to rebuild, resilient as ever, carrying forward the hope for a safer and more sustainable future.